Today, we're going to figure out what's wrong with our 944 again. I'm Justin.
And I am Aaron.
And this is Husman Bros. So we have been promising you guys a project with our 944 here for a while.
Quite some time, probably a couple of times.
A couple times.
Yeah,
and
it's been sitting for a bit.
It's sitting for a very long, might be sitting for longer than some of our viewers have been alive. But any way you look at it, we got to figure it out because it makes a terrible noise right now.
And downshifts are very hard, very, very shaky. So something's going on with this.
Somewhere in the drivetrain. So we brought in our ringer, cousin Rob.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Rob, will you take this for a drive and tell us what's wrong with it?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the first thing we got to do is let me listen to it.
Okay, great. Let's do that. We'll get it down off the lift here and then take it for a drive and then come back
Perfect.
and report.
So let's go for a ride. Let's figure out what's going on. So we've heard some reports that there's a distinct whine coming from the transaxle upon deacceleration. You can actually hear it just then a little bit, but we're going to get it up a little faster because apparently it's more pronounced when we're going at a faster clip. So the issue is with a sound that's a whine, you know, there's going to be some normal noise in a transaxle that's this old. It's going to be gear whine. It's going to come from gears just being worn out over time. But at a certain point, we may need to look, beyond that. That it's just old and it's just making noises. We're going to see if the noises are more pronounced or more invasive than what I think they should be. I can definitely hear the noise, and I would count some of this noise as just normal wear and tear on a transaxle that's over 40 years old. And I don't know if the microphone can pick that up, but there's a distinct sound coming out of the back of the car. It's definitely a transaxle sound. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to rev it up a little bit and then back off on the throttle and not say anything so you can actually listen. And needless to say, that noise should not be there. That is excessive noise coming out of the transaxle. I would describe that noise as grindy or like a scraping sound. It becomes very, very prevalent when you lift off on the throttle. We're going to listen to it again. That noise should definitely not be there, so we've got a challenge we're going to look at. So we're going to do some easy things first. We're going to drain and replace the gear lube in the transaxle. The good news is that by refreshing it, it could eliminate some of this noise because there's a good chance the stuff that's in here is quite old. So we're going to do that first, and if not, well then the real fun starts because we'll have to figure out next steps.
All right, Rob, you've taken it for a drive. You're holding a giant Allen wrench, so what do you know?
Wow, that was quite a noise. Didn't sound good. So my thoughts are that we need to do a couple of simple things first, okay, and then diagnose from there. So the transmission and axle in a Porsche 944 are actually called a transaxle. So okay, it's the transmission and the axle combined into one unit. Why would you do that? Why would you do a transaxle?
If I had to guess, probably weight distribution.
Exactly. So what you're doing is you're taking a fairly significant weight that's kind of in the middle of the car, which tends to make the car front end heavy, and moving it to the back. 944s are known for having almost a perfect 50-50 weight balance, which made them really tossable.
Right. You used to race these cars.
That's correct. I had two 944 turbos that were pretty beastly cars. Okay. But I want to share something with you. I bought this tool back in 1991 to do exactly the same job on the first 944 that I owned. So I don't throw stuff away. Very so good. I brought it out to crack those covers and see what's going to come out.
So you say do a job. What job are we doing?
So we're going to change the gear oil in the transaxle. So I took a peek underneath, and it's pretty bad. And not only that, but that drain was so tight that even this wouldn't do it. We had to come up with bigger tools. I suspect it's never been cracked. It could be that gear oil's been sitting there for almost 40 years.
So it's like peanut butter.
It could be really nasty. So we're going to try to get something out. We've got some brand new high-end liquid moly gear oil we're going to put in it, and then we're going to put it back down and drive it some more.
So what happens if we can't get anything out of this?
Yeah, we're going to go. If nothing comes out, then we probably know that's the issue. But we also know that the wear on the transaxle has been really accelerated. So let's see what comes out.
Okay.
Then let's put some in there. Let's button it up and drive it for a little bit. You need to drive it for a couple weeks to really get everything nice and lubed again. So we took the wheel off. It makes access, it doesn't make it easier, but it just gives you more light. You can do this with the wheel on, but it just gives us, as you can see, more lighting right in here so we can actually see what we're doing. So just location-wise, here's the drain right here, and this is the fill right here. Best rule of thumb is that we're going to drain this. We're going to see what comes out here in a minute. We're going to clean this area before we reinstall it and give it kind of nice and where it's not as quite so nasty. And then we'll fill this up. Rule of thumb is you fill it up with gear lube until it starts to drip out, and you let it finish dripping, and then you put the cap back in. That gives you a good fill, and you know it's properly filled.
So Rob, I know that we don't have new plugs. Is this the kind of job where you should buy new plugs?
I don't think so, Justin. I think we can just clean these off really well and reinstall.
So it's not quite like an oil change.
No, it's because this actually doesn't really have any load on it. It just is. It's just stiff because it's been in there forever.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and loosen it the last little bit. I don't know what's going to come out, if anything.
Oh, that doesn't look terrible.
Actually, it doesn't look terrible at all.
That might be bad news,
That's probably bad. And actually, I guarantee that's like, there's some crud in there. There's some metal. I can see some clouding in it.
Okay.
It's actually a lot cleaner than I thought it was going to be.
Me too. I thought it was just going to ooze out of there like toothpaste.
So unfortunately, that's probably bad news.
Yeah.
What that means is that the pinion bearing and the actual gears in the transaxle are probably worn.
Well, hopefully some of you will have more luck, so we'll show you how to finish this job out.
But look here, you can actually see there's a lot of clouding in that, which means there's gunk. There's still gunk in there.
So this couldn't hurt, certainly, but it's not as dark as I expected it to be,
not
for
as
sure.
dark as I expected it to be either.
Okay, so once your flow slows down to a drip like this, we're
Yes.
going to install the bottom drain plug. And Rob did this off camera for time, but we cleaned that up.
Yeah,
You know, whenever you're taking
pretty
something
bad.
out of something, you want to clean it as well as you can.
These are so stout, and like I said, they don't really, they're not load bearing or load carrying, so there's no reason to replace it. If it came out cleanly, which it did, we're going to just go ahead and thread it back in. We're not going to. It was way, way, way over torqued. We're going to do my old classic German torque setting, which is just good and tight, just nice and tight, single, to hand tighten. I might get a ratchet and do it to where it's, a little bit tighter, but it was ridiculous whoever did it last time.
Rob, I see this gunk all over our gearbox here.
Yes.
That's not coming from inside the gearbox, is it?
I don't think so. I think over time, these have probably been, so these are the half shaft boots.
Right.
There's lube inside this assembly.
Sure.
These are old, but they are not broken, meaning there's probably still some lube in there. What happens is these things wear out over time. This is probably this thing's second or third set. And you know that because what they do is they leak out and they coat everything.
So you think this has been replaced
Absolutely,
in the past?
yeah, it's probably been replaced in the past. There's no way that this thing being rubber lasted for 40 years.
Got it. As it turns out, we don't actually need the pump because these bottles are their own built-in pump. Let's see if Rob can make this work. We will, however, still link to the pump we were going to use down in the comments below, because when you're doing fluid changes, it's great to have a pump. It just makes the job easier. They don't all come built in like this. So Rob, why are we going back to the pump?
I couldn't get the angle of the bottle up tilted high enough to get everything out of the bottom. So as you can see, it's still probably maybe between the two bottles, maybe a pint still left.
Okay.
And that's the difference between filling it and not filling it.
So we basically need, the amount we need are these 2 liters that we have.
Yes, correct. Okay, so that's basically 2 quarts that we put in here.
So how can you tell, Rob?
I stick my finger in the fill hole, and if I pull my finger out and there's oil on it, that means it's full.
Good enough, huh?
Yes, good enough. Okay, that's good and tight.
So we changed out the diff fluid, back in the car, give it a little test drive. Rob says we're gonna drive it around about 5 minutes. So we will do that now. Wish I was driving that though. I've driven this car quite a bit, and this is as bad as I ever remember it sounding. There's a sort of a whine, a sort of a high-pitched whine going on. I mean, downshifting is still just no good at all. You gotta find your right gear. It sounds like a straight cut gear transmission, but it's not, and that's a problem. It doesn't sound good on acceleration, but it sounds even worse on deceleration. That sounded like something was slipping as I moved from third to fourth. And then we just switched to a different pitch of whine. I'm not even gonna bother trying to downshift because the whole car is just so herky-jerky when you do. This car used to be a lot of fun to drive, but I can honestly say right now there is nothing fun about driving this car. I'm a little nervous that I'm gonna get stranded here and I'll have to walk a little ways, which is why I think Justin had me do the test drive instead of doing it himself. Even Rob didn't want to drive this, which you know is not a good sign. There's a lot of weird sounds coming out of this car right now, and I can't even blame that many on the muffler. Well, Rob said to drive it around for about 4 or 5 minutes. We've been driving it around for about 4 or 5 minutes. It's not getting any better. I'm hearing the same sounds that I've heard the whole time. I think let's just take it back to the garage and we'll talk with Justin and Rob about what we should do next.
Okay, so what's the verdict? What did you hear? Did you fix it? Everything's good?
I did not hear anything good, man. This sounds like shit, dude. It really is bad.
Sound worse than it was before?
I mean, worse is relative, but it definitely doesn't sound good. I guess it's more consistent than it was before, so it's got that going for it.
That's something.
Yeah.
So it sounds then like maybe our pinion gears have gone bad, like Rob said?
Yeah, exactly. Either way, it doesn't sound good. So you talked to Rob a little bit. What are the options then?
We have a couple options. We can take it to a place and have them rebuild that transaxle and put new pinion gear in it. Probably.
Okay.
I don't even know what that costs. I can call Charlie and ask him. We can go
Got
find
a ballpark, get an idea?
I would guess no less than $1,000, but in today's world, probably more than that. Again, don't know. Let's find out. We could go find another one, but I think then we're still buying a 40-year-old transaxle that is going to have the same problem at some point or another.
Okay.
Or we could...
Is this something we can rebuild ourselves?
I mean, I don't think it's that kind of channel, to be fair. So probably not.
Well, I mean, I don't want to do it wrong. You know?
But even taking it out, do you remember how much work it was to convert my car from 2 to 4?
Yeah.
Right? Or 4 to 2. It's going to be very similar with this, but add in 40 years worth of grease and shit caked all around it. Mm-hmm. So I think what we might have here, we'll drive it and see if maybe it magically heals itself. Pray for us if you're a praying person, but if it doesn't, that might be terminal for this car, I think.
So I guess we got some thinking to do. We got some considering on what we're going to do with this hunk of metal.
I agree.
Yeah.
If you have any ideas what we should do with this thing, I'm open to just about anything. So drop them in the comments down below.
Yeah. In the meantime, go check out the Husman Bros store and buy some shirts so we
We've
can
got
afford
those
to
linked
fix
down
this
below.
thing.
Yeah, we need to make a little scratch to fix this thing. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.